Okay. So thank you everybody. As I was saying, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Very glad that you could join us today. I'm glad to see that more participants are joining. And I think I will begin by welcoming Bavoshia, asking her to say hello.
Hello. Nice to see all of us joining in. I hope we have a good session. Yes, that's it, really.
Okay, thank you. So I want to welcome you to this webinar on financial literacy. I want to recognize each of you, and since we're expecting to be quite a big number, I would just like to ask the project managers in alphabetical order to say hello on behalf of their teams. So I'll just go in alphabetical order. I'll start with CBPS.
Hello, hi, I'm Nivi. I'm from the Center for Budget and Policy Studies, joining from India. I am actually joined by my colleague, who is also the co-team lead for this project, Urvija Priyadarshini, Dr. Urvija Priyadarshini.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nivi. Welcome. Gini Goada.
Hello.
Hello.
Marina here, Marina van der Vlies. I'm the project manager for the project Guinea Guada Foundation, and I'm here together with Jamie. He's our IT and communications manager. Unfortunately, apologies from two other members that would have loved to have been here. That's Cecilia. She's our financial admin officer, as well as our M&E officer, Aaron. They're at another training at the moment, so unfortunately they can't make it. Okay. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you very much, Marina. Reep.
Morning all, my name is Mary. I'm calling in from Kenya, and I think some of my team members will also be joining. Thank you, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you very much, Mary. Plavio? Plavio in? Not yet, I think. Okay, let's move to Yapo. I can see a number of representatives from Yapo. Would one of you like to say hello on behalf of Salim?
Good morning. I'm Lulu Karen from Yapo. I think my other participants will be coming in soon, and we're from Tanzania. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lulu Karen. So we will dive right in to ask ourselves why we are having this webinar, especially because this is something we may have mentioned in the past, and some of you have actually gone through a little bit of it. But we need to recognize, first of all, that financial literacy is really the basis for improved lives. When we have girls and young women, if they can understand how they can earn, how they can protect, and how they can also grow their income, then they're really set for a better future. And so the webinar that we're having today is to reacquaint ourselves with the manual that we have already looked at once or twice, and to really consolidate the fact that we are going to be offering financial literacy in the coming months. For many of you in Q3, this is an activity that you'll be having. For some of you in Q4. And I think that coming together like this and going through the manual together is going to ensure that when we finally implement it, we are really on the same page in terms of what are the outcomes that are expected. So in the past, we have been offering financial literacy, yes, but there were no baselines. There was no way that we can measure progress and change because each partner was offering a different course. And we want to be able to have a way in which we can then establish these baselines. We can see what our learners knew before they started, and that will then help us with the pre-test and then with the post-test to follow up and to know what is the impact that this course has done. So it's both for the fact that it is important to learn financial literacy and all our participants need it. But then it is also for us to understand that we are doing it so that we are able to really monitor how well they are learning, and to be able to evaluate this learning at the end. So I welcome you as we begin and as we go together. Each of us, we know we have a role to play within this webinar, so that I'll not be the only one speaking, but then you will be able to come in. So just very quickly, just to reacquaint ourselves with the fact that we know that COL developed 2 courses. Each of these courses has got 5 units. And the courses that we developed are meant for participants who are at community level, not for participants who may be having a lot of prior knowledge, a lot of literacy. We try to bring them to make them as basic as possible so that they can appeal to the person who is at community level. And each of these courses, as I've said, have their 5 units. They take roughly the same time. So we have financial literacy for entrepreneurs, and we have e-commerce for entrepreneurs. The basis being that COL is trying to educate these participants to become entrepreneurs, to be able to generate their own income. Because again, we all operate in situations where it is not very easy to get a job, especially if you don't have very high qualifications. So we focus on the entrepreneurial spirit of young women and girls and try to ensure that they have that basis. And you can see from the slide that we have here that e-commerce takes just a little bit longer than financial literacy, in that it takes 11 hours, while financial literacy takes 10 hours. In terms of activities, again, they're relatively the same. E-commerce has, again, more activities, that is 10 activities against the financial literacy for entrepreneurs. Now, we are not going to go through both because we do not have the time to go through both, but we have selected financial literacy as an example so that it is my hope that after this webinar, you have the capacity to offer e-commerce for entrepreneurs too, to be able to think about some of the things that we are going to say that are going to come out from this webinar, and then you can go and put them into the e-commerce that you will be teaching. Again, we have selected financial literacy because we know that in some instances, e-commerce may be a little bit difficult for most of the participants. And so we wanted to talk about a course that is being offered to absolutely every participant. And I really want to emphasize this before we go on. We have to offer relatively the same kind of course to all participants in the Girls Inspire program so that we are able to have the baseline of the pretest and measure this across so that we can get to know what is it that was the impact of the financial literacy. So as we go on, let's start with the pre and post testing. Now, you did the pretest that was offered, and that pretest, I think from the time that we put it up, we asked participants to undertake the pretest. And I just want to open up a discussion. Before we go into it, I want to open up a discussion and ask a question. If you reflect on what you think you may have scored, some of you may have compared your score to the manual, but some of you may not have, and we're going to come to the scores in a few minutes. But if you think about the test itself and the challenges that you may have faced in taking that test, and therefore the challenges that we think participants may face, I'd like to take a few minutes just to go through this and think about it. Did you face any challenges? And do you think that your participants will face any challenge? So I'll open up the floor for your contributions. Anyone can start. You just maybe raise a hand so that I can see the participants. Would anyone like to tell us their experience of the pretest and what challenges they may have faced?
Hi, Karen. This is Nivi.
Yes, Nivi.
I just actually did the pretest just before this, before the thing, and I thought that sometimes you have very strong ideas about okay, what is credit, what is debit, and I found myself actually being slightly confused about the credit because you think you know a lot of things, and then you sort of have to be very defined in your understanding, and I thought that was very useful for me to also realize that as much as we think, I mean, those of us who think that they are financially literate also sometimes use words or use concepts or think that they have the understanding of concepts, but don't necessarily know how to define them. So that was actually very useful for me.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Nivi. Another contribution?
Hi, Dr. Nyangara.
Yes, Ryan.
I did the test, and I can say, personally, I think education and my literacy level is a bit high compared to the people that this course is supposed to help, the people who are supposed to undertake this training. So I think for me, I would say it's from a point of a bit of privilege, having gone to school, and so makes me understand some few things. But I realize that the community level, the women, because we are dealing with the local women, they will really have a hard time knowing it. They from the people that we are working with, they definitely have zero clue of anything about it.
Oh, thank you, Ryan. I was about to say that maybe an assumption, but also possible that they may have much more difficulty than you would have. Thank you so much. Yes, any other contribution? Did you have a challenge taking the test, or did you find it very easy? And what challenge, therefore, do you think your participants might experience?
Hi, Karen.
Yes, go ahead, James.
Jamie from Guinea-Guada.
Yes.
I did the test about 2 days ago. One of the challenges that I found was the concepts and also the terminologies used in the test. I found some of them to be a bit confusing, so I had to do some checks on it myself.
Yes.
If we were to use some of this, especially in a local setting, it would be a bit difficult and challenging for those who do not have a good background, educational background. So yeah, that's some things that I found while doing the test. Thank you.
Okay. Did anybody feel that the language is too complex? Because I'm getting a sense that we are saying that it might be at the level at which the test might be difficult for our participants. Are we talking about difficulty because they do not know the concepts, or difficulty because of literacy levels? Because those might be two different things.
I think for us, for our situation will be because of literacy level for Kenya. Let me speak for Kenya, because we're dealing with local women, and most of them haven't had the privilege of probably going to school. So the literacy level will be the challenge. But if we break it down to now, for us, we'll easily break it down to a way that they would understand and have I don't know, they understand it bring it down to their level. Yes, that will be us to do it. But on the way it is, the literacy level will be a challenge for them.
Okay. Would it then be easier if let's stick with the issue of Kenya? Would it be easier in terms of the REAP team? Would participants in your program find it easier if it was in the local language, if it was in Swahili? Anyone from REAP can answer.
Yes, they will find it easier in Swahili, but again, what I would say, it will be upon us to break it down to them. It will be, I think it's upon us, because even whatever the presentation that we're doing on budgeting, it is upon us to break it down to make it understandable to them, to bring it to their level, to use examples that they can relate to, probably to use, instead of debit and credit, to use language that they can easily understand and feel like a part of.
Okay, I get you. Evans, you had wanted to say something?
Yes, just I'd agree with Ryan. It's more without I think us being there, without us going to the ground and breaking it down. If you just hand it over to them, they will not be able to really understand what the course is about. So we have to do the work of maybe what you're suggesting about translating it to Swahili would probably help. But yes, what Ryan is saying is true because they cannot really understand the terms. The language is also a bit difficult for them to understand. So you have to be the ones to go and say, credit means this, the definition is this is how you apply it in your business, this is how you apply it in your life. So yeah, I think I'd agree with Ryan.
Okay, so Evans has mentioned the fact that this is something that needs to be taught or facilitated, and I want us to remember that this is actually a facilitated course. So we have the facilitators manual. We have maybe I'm making assumptions about the fact that everybody has accessed this when we shared it before. We have shared the manuals, and we have both the facilitators manual and the participants manual. And so the facilitator's manual is a summary of the participant's manual, and also contains instructions on how to teach each and every single unit. So you would not be offering the course as giving the participants the manual and letting them work on it by themselves. This is something that is facilitated, and we go through it together. Later on, we shall see how we can also have additional materials that can be used for teaching the course. But I love the ideas that have been brought up. The comments that have come are basically around the difficulty level. And maybe we need to also pause a little and ask ourselves, what is the purpose of a pretest? Why do we offer a pretest?
Karen?
Yes, Salim.
Yeah, thank you. This is morning, and good morning to you, everybody.
Hello.
I think it's important to understand the knowledge base of our participants, even for ourselves, before we go for the full course delivery. So in order for us to measure the abilities, the capacities, and the awareness level of our participants, it's important to administer a pre-taste so that we can understand the amount of knowledge they have, the gaps that we need to fill during the training itself. Yeah, so it's important to have it in order to understand. It's like a baseline thing so that we can understand the real situation going on around the knowledge and skills that they have. Yeah.
Exactly. And so if you go into the facilitator's manual, Salim, you're very right. We're trying to establish a baseline, and the facilitator's manual also gives you the choice. You can offer this, if your participants are more learned, you can offer this test online. If they can understand English and read it well enough, you can offer this test in a written form, and they just fill a piece of paper. It can be translated into the local languages. It can be broken down, but you would not break it down so far as to be actually offering the answers. But the purpose of the pretest, as Salim has said, is to establish a baseline. It's not to say, oh, you passed with 70% or 60%. It is a tool that we as facilitators would then use to say, this is the number of people in terms of understanding the concepts of what is income or what is a budget. If everybody understands that, then I don't need to dwell too much on it. But let me take the example that Nivi gave at the beginning, understanding the difference between credit and debit. If you find that there's a question in the pretest on credit and debit, and most of the participants are not getting that question correctly, then I know, okay, when I go into to teach this unit that deals with credit and debit, I need to take a little bit more time and understand what are the participants' perceptions of credit or debit. What do they understand? And so therefore, can I take a little more time because there may be misconceptions? So the pretest gives us the baseline, the understanding of where our participants are. And then we can build on it. We can know what will be relevant to them, what they have never encountered before, or what they are completely familiar with, so that we understand how to pace the course. And so, as I've said, as you offer the pretest, think about the different modes in which you could offer it. If you find that your participants, for example, may understand English, but they may not necessarily, maybe you'll feel like they may not be able to read and comprehend, you can always read out the questions to them. Let's say we are on question 1. Now for question 1, answer yes or no. Do you know what is an income? They say yes or they say no. They write down just yes or no. So the mode in which you offer the pretest depends very much on your context. And the facilitator's manual gives you the range of ways in which you can offer that pretest. Then another thing we need to remember is not to forget to offer the post-test. And remember that the post-test is exactly the same as the pre-test, but it is offered at the end of the course so that we are able then to compare the baselines and know what it is that our participants understood. So in offering the pre-test and the post-test, we get the baseline that is useful for us to be able to go ahead with the course. Now I want to just get to the next slide, where I am presenting to you the results of your post-test and what we were able to see. Now, by the time we closed the post-test, because we had to close it at some point in order to prepare for the meeting, by that time, 12 full answers had been received. So what I have done is simply put the questions, the pre-test items, and put the number of correct items that we were able to get. So if you look at the question number 1, for example, where we have, I can identify 12 different types of income, then 12 people were able to get that answer correct. It tells me as a facilitator, if these were my participants, these were my 12 participants, that they know what income is. And therefore we have a basis on which to start if that is for unit 1. There is a basis on which to start the learning. People understand exactly what income is. For number 2, we had a budget is for people with a lot of money. 11 of you were able to get that answer correct. Number 3, credit is money that a business borrows. 10 of you got that correct. Oops, sorry. 10 of you got that correct. Now, a small entrepreneur cannot get startup funds for banks. We have 9 out of the 12 who got it correct. So we can see that from that 9, that means that a little bit more attention needs to be given to the fact that any entrepreneur is able to get money from a bank if they have certain documentation. We don't only teach the knowledge that it is possible to get startup funds, but we also help participants to see that even they can get startup funds from banks. Now, I won't go through the whole of it, but I just want to take a moment and just let you see which ones were the worst done. Which was the worst done question?
I think number 18 and number 23 and 24.
Number 18, you're right, Salim. Number 18 was one of the lowest performed. I understand how to reduce the amount of tax that my business pays. Now, we can look at that from 2 angles. Number 1, first of all, that is not a very common question. It requires in-depth knowledge of understanding what are taxes and how are taxes paid and why are they paid, so that then one can reach the point of, I can reduce the amount of tax my business pays. So therefore, for me, having a low score on number 18 does not mean that my participants are underexposed. It is that this is a specialist area of understanding how a business operates, so that then it means that as a facilitator, I may not necessarily need to spend more time. It may just simply be that this is knowledge that is not very common. So we look at some of the areas in which the participants have not done very well. Here where we have, for example, number 23, where only half of you got it correct. Number 24, where only half got it correct, then we understand that these are areas that we must concentrate on, and that we must be able to bring the participants to the place where, at entrepreneurs, then they understand the difference. So we would expect, as we are going along and they're getting this knowledge, by the end of the course, then we are able to see that everybody has reached, at least we are getting 11 out of 12 or 12 people getting the information correct. And I also want to perhaps mention at this point that I'm very happy to note one thing, that for example, 5 team members from YAPO, 4 team members from RIP, and 2 from Ginigoada Foundation did the test. Now, it's a little bit disappointing to see that the other partners did not really attempt the test. There was 1 person from Plabu. So by the time we did the analysis, this information was not there. And just the fact that when there is a strong team response, it also gives us the reassurance that the training of participants is a joint effort, that the training of participants will not fall on one person. So I want to encourage you, again, I think we've said this in many meetings, when Bavosia sends out a request that, please, this is something that you need to do, it is good to do it if it is a post-test after a workshop, if it is information that we need, even if it's just, please RSVP for this meeting, it helps us to be able to plan and to be able to know that teams are still working together. So thank you so much for participating in the pre-test. And before I move on, maybe if there are any question or response or comment on what we have gone to so far. Any comments? Okay. Should I move on? I can see in chat.
Yeah.
I can see in chat. Mary is saying her volume is very low. Someone can't hear what somebody else is saying. Nivi is apologizing for not sending it to the team. Yes, that happens. Okay. So let us then move on. If there is no further comment from the pre-test, let's just have some water. Now we want to dive right into we want to dive right into plenary and to look at each of the units so that we can just basically summarize what the unit is about and what are the objectives, explain the learning task or learning tasks that are in that particular unit. And if you found in your reading, there was something that you found that you need to curate the unit to your context, it would be great to share so that everybody can understand it. I'm also hoping that by this time, everybody has gone through all the units. Sorry?
Sorry, Karen. I don't know if it's just me, but now I'm seeing on the slides are much smaller and I'm seeing you on half the screen.
Oh.
So I don't know what it is. Oh yes, that's
that
much better. Yes.
Oh, okay. Good. All right. I'm not sure why that is happening.
Oh, it's fine now.
It's fine now.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So oops, it has jumped all the way. Okay, let me close that. Okay, so what I would like to do is that I would like to give each I will say team. I know it's one person presenting, but since I'm not sure whether the project managers gave it to somebody else, so I'm just simply going to say we're going to give each team 5 minutes to present on the questions. I know that some people have sent in a PowerPoint, so they will be able to go ahead to share that PowerPoint presentation. But we will just start at Unit 1. Take about maybe 5 minutes to tell us about the unit. So Unit 1, Alok, I think that is you. You had You had sent in a PowerPoint slide. So should I stop my share?
Yes.
Okay.
Would you like me to share it, or would you? I don't know if you can even share.
Yeah, you share what I shared. Yeah.
I hope you can see my screen.
Yeah. Okay, that's perfect. Yeah, good morning, everyone. Sorry that I joined in late. I was fidgeting with the network, but I'm grateful to be here. We were given a task of Unit 1, that is income and expenses. When everybody was trying to imagine how this would be for the people that these are meant for. I would say that some people would find it very hard to understand what income and then expenses are. Others may understand, others may not understand. But when we talked about the key concepts in this, we look at income, which we find that it is money earned from work, business, or an investment. So people will always know that the money that they get from the sales or from any other thing, from agricultural products, from any other thing that they eventually get from whatever they are doing as a business or as agriculture, that money becomes what? Income, they know. And so when you look at the expenses, we say that expenses, these are what we spend to live or operate a business. So it's like I have 50,000 and then I have to buy the stock. So in that money, those are my expenses. Out of the income I got, what I use to buy the stocks, those are my expenses, or any other cost incurred during the process of this business. Then we look at the gross and net income. So before and after deduction. So the gross is what we have, like the total money that we have operating this business. And then the net income is what we now have after the deductions of the business, I mean, the money that we have incurred to operate this business. Now, when you look at taxation, this is the most part whereby people don't understand, because it's our culture that people doesn't want to pay tax. But now when you look...
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah.
Let me just
Yes.
interrupt you. Actually, what we just want to know is, what is the unit about? Not so much teaching, but just tell this unit is about this and this, and these are the objectives and these are the tasks that are in the unit, so that we can get a sense of it.
Oh,
yes.
Sorry, I was thinking maybe sort of explanation. All right, so sorry for that. Now, the unit is about, when you look at those key concepts, it handles income, expenses, gross versus net income, and taxation. So that is it. But the objectives of this unit is to identify income, sources and types, whereby we look at active and passive, then also distinguish between wants and need. So this is, we are looking at discretionary, and then the non-discretionary. So, and also in this unit, one of the objectives is to record and track income and expenses effectively. So the main learning task in this unit is there are some case studies where we look at that Makaya, the hairdresser, where we're looking at gross income versus the net income. And then in also this unit, one of the learning tasks is a group discussion, whereby the group is broken down to see ways to earn passive income locally. And of course, the exercise is there, given also in the under income and expenses, whether to make sure that to understand whether people have got it. People are tasked to list 10 personal expenses, wants or needs, and then the practice is that they need to track their daily spending habits. So in this unit, also under income and expense, there's also a component of local adaptation. So how do you bring this locally? in your area. Like we look at border rider, we're looking at tailor, vendor. So because this looks at improving relatability. How do you relate whatever has been given in the context or in this book or this income and expense unit? How do you relate it locally? If you're a border rider, a tailor, or vendor. Then the case study here, we're also looking at the local circle success story, which we are seeing that it promotes the local relevance. So like locally. So this is the case study. Now the currency used, we are using the UGX, which is Uganda shillings, which looks at the local prices. And then also we have practical learning. Taxation here, we are looking at there are taxes. As you operate a business, you are supposed to pay for local service tax. These are levied on staff if you have big one. We also have URA coming in where they come and charge the trading license. And also there is need to build awareness. We need to let them know that however much you are operating a business, you must know that there are taxes that you are supposed to pay. So then also we have the tools. Of course, we are using the exercise books to record their businesses, their expenses, what income have you got this month, and the rest. Then we have, of course, those ones who can have the smartphones. They can also have the phone notes. And then we believe that this exercise book and phones can be accessible for all. Now, the takeaway here is how do we manage income and expenses? And basically, this is the foundation of financial stability. Because if you know how your income comes and the expenses that you are incurring, of course, you will be able to know that. Then the next one is creating multiple income streams and tracking what? Spending. So it's like you have other sources tied to the business you're operating to get more income. And then also you have to be able to track how you're spending. Then paying taxes. Of course, it builds credibility and then the national growth. However much you're doing a business, we also have to support our country using paying taxes. Then the localized examples. This one makes our understanding about our business or the income and then how we spending our money as expenses. So, it makes us understand because it is in the local context. Then at the end of the unit, there is also discussion questions. We believe that what are some of the examples of passive income? Because income is a key concept here and then explain. So what are some of the examples of passive income in your community? Then we believe that takes to 5 to 7 minutes. Thank you.
Jacob, thank you very much. Thank you. Sorry, I was trying to think a little bit because maybe our question was not as clear as it could have been. Because when we were talking about, just summarize the key concept, just tell us what the unit is about and what are the objectives, and then to explain the learning tasks. I think perhaps in my mind, I was thinking that the person presenting would really borrow completely from what is in the manual. And I think you have provided that, and you have also gone a little bit beyond. Now, one of the things that perhaps I did not understand was the last thing you said, the discussion question. Is this something you are trying to add to the manual? Because the unit 1 ends with 3 assessment questions. And so there is already assessment inbuilt into the unit, where we have, first of all, this unit, because it's unit 1, we have the pre-test. That is the first form of learning task that would be in that unit. And then we have the group activity number 1, where they have been given a case study of a farming cooperative, and then asked how this farming cooperative makes farming income. They have also been asked in that unit to list 10 things that they spend money on. And then they have been asked to divide the list into discretionary and non-discretionary expenses. Then they also are having at the end, as I've said, the 3 questions from the assessment. So there is already assessment inbuilt into the unit. We don't need to create new assessment because it is there, and it follows from what content you have first been given. When you are discussing income, what is income? Then what are expenses? Then you go to what is taxation. An example is given of a hairdresser who is making a bit of money and how she spends her money. So as much as it is good to curate, remember that already there are so many things that have been done for you. And so you don't need to go to the difficult task of actually creating all the modules again. So thank you so much for the presentation. Let's have the second presentation. I think that is Mary. Mary, do you have a PPT, or you just want to speak to the unit?
I'll be presenting for RIB.
Oh, okay. Okay, go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah. Yes. Can I share my screen? We have a PowerPoint. Let me try.
Pavosha, will he be able to do that?
Are you able to share, or do I need to make you co-host?
I don't. Let's see. Let's try. Yeah, there it is. I think I'm able.
Yes, we can see your screen.
You can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, Ryan, you have about 5 minutes.
So our topic was on budgeting.
Mm-hmm.
So basically what it entails, it's making the learners understand what's a budget, a brief introduction to a budget, the key words, the key terms in a budget, and those are revenue, budget, income, operating costs. Then what's a business budget, and what helps you to decide on the type of budget that you are to have. So that is what we want to make the learner understand, what they need to understand to help them understand how to come up with a budget. Parts of a budget. What are the basic parts of a budget? Because when you're forming a budget, it has parts. It has the estimated income, the expense category, and the estimated profit. Those are the main 3 parts of the budget. And then we are now bringing this. We are trying to make this one community relatable. So we are giving them an example, using an example. And this one we decided, there is one that is already in the template, as Nyangara said, but we found that it will not be easily relatable to our people, to our community, because the one that is there is for a motorbike, and so we just created something that is relatable to our community. So we created something on a food joint with names that they can relate to, and terms that they can relate to. So, but it's basically the same thing. So an example of a budget, and then we tell them using that example how they can break it down and form a budget using the example that example that we have given them. Our example is Mr. Otoyo, who runs a kitchen kiosk, a small food joint in Busia town, selling chapati and beans. And he borrowed money from his cousin to buy utensils and stock for the business. And he has a monthly rent of 10,000. He also covers 2,000 for electricity and water. So using this example, that come up with a budget for Mr. Otoyo, and that one becomes easier for them because it's something that they can relate to. And lastly, from the budget of Mr. Otoyo, we now curate questions like, what is the profit that Mr. Otoyo has gotten from this breakdown, and what are his expenses, what are his what are his profit margins, and what is his operating cost. So from that example, they're able to understand what a budget entails more, using that example. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ryan. It is good my volume was turned off because I started laughing at something that you said, that in the manual, the budget that is being created in Unit 2, if we have gone through it on creating a business budget, the case study is on Mr. Shah, who has been running a motorcycle and bicycle spare parts shop. And his daughter, who has been trained in motorcycle repair, is now starting her own business. And so she's the one for whom we are creating a budget. And I found myself smiling at when Ryan was saying that that particular example is not relatable. Coming from Kenya, I know that the place that you come from has got more motorbikes and more bicycles than vehicles. And so this should be actually one particular one example that is extremely relatable. And so I'm not sure. It is good that the team has changed, but I just found it extremely strange that from Kenya you would say that this is not a relatable example. That sounded a little bit.
Motorbikes are mostly a men-dominated thing. It's a male-dominated field.
Yes, but not the shops.
If I'm to train the women, they'll really not get about motorbike and shop for motorbike. They'll understand about food because it's more of what women do than owning a motorbike shop. But
okay, does anybody else have any input on that? Or any opinion on that? Okay, I cannot see any hands up. So let's move to you.
Actually, yes, an opinion here in Papua New Guinea. We don't have any motorcycles or bicycles, so that would not be relatable here.
Okay, no, yes, that I can understand that for Papua New Guinea because it would be a completely foreign concept. What I'm trying to probably bring across is the fact that when we say that this is not relatable because it is a male-dominated field of work, I think those are some of the stereotypes that we are also trying to break down. And that we know that working in a shop is something that a lot of women do. And so working in repair is something that women do. In Tanzania, for example, I know that Yapo has trained quite a number of girls in motorcycle repair. And so I would imagine that this would be highly relatable to them. So we're not going to go into the merits and demerits of perhaps is this female or is this not female oriented. But it's just that I was trying to say that REAP operates in an area where there is a huge number of motorcycles and a huge number of bicycles. It is a lucrative business. And perhaps you need to also start thinking about going beyond stereotypical professions for the girls and the women that we are training and thinking more about where is the money and how can we train them in areas where that money will be available to them. So thank you very much, Reep. Let's go to Unit 3, that is saving and investing. Nivi, it's your team now.
Yeah, I have not created a presentation, but I will be able to speak. So essentially, this unit is about three primary things. It is so taking off from what the previous unit did, it actually tries to now look at if you have this sort of budget and you have a sense of where money is going in and out, what do you do to create what are the saving strategies that are possible, what are the investment strategies that are possible, and what are the protective strategies that are possible. So essentially, if you are able to get this business or any kind of work going, how do you make sure that you're able to what kind of savings can you do, what is the importance of those savings? For example, example in the module has been given in terms of COVID, which we know was a reality that a lot of businesses, especially small businesses, went under primarily because they didn't have enough to be able to hold on to their to their businesses because they didn't have enough savings, or they didn't really have enough investment strategies. So there is a specific sort of focus on ensuring what is on looking at the various examples of savings, but also what does it mean to invest better? How does it create? So it's a small, in terms of learning tasks, the module goes through what are the kinds of savings that can grow from interest earned versus profit earned, what is simple and compound interest, and some examples of that. I'll come to the examples a little later, while after describing what actually the module does. It also looks at specific, and I think this was very useful to give specific examples for what are the different strategies of saving. So can you have short-term goals? Is it possible to assign a percentage or an amount of monthly income? Or before everything is paid, just keep something aside. Is there any method by which you can cut costs so you can save a little bit? So the focus on, and also how do you pay your debts in a way that you pay, for example, high interest sooner than later. So I think these are fairly good strategies in terms of saving smaller so that it sort of adds up. And one of the primary foundational financial principles we know that this is based on is that saving big over a short period of time is harder, especially for small businesses. So saving even like 10 rupees per day or per week makes a lot of difference. But saving consistently is what has been sort of, I think that's the messaging, at least from the module. In terms of the methods, so they also, I mean, so the module also goes into methods of saving. How do you save? And it was very interesting for me that usually there are specific ways in which you can save at home, but saving accounts have been sort of mentioned, as well as self-help groups. And also then not just saving, but also investing. So can you make sure that these savings in some ways grow and not in high risk investments? So all of the methods that uh, training would be on would be low to medium risks, and not, for example, share markets or things like we have something in India called chit funds, which are everyone pulls in together, and then there's a sort of a lottery, which I think is also sort of merry-go-round, but I'm not sure the mechanisms of merry-go-round versus chit fund, because chit fund can be high risk, high reward. That those kinds of things are sort of not really engaged with. Instead, you have, for example, something like treasury bills, which here in India is also called debentures and savings bonds. The third aspect of it, which was, okay, let's save, then let's start and see how to invest. And the third is, how do you protect? Because that, I think, is also becoming very rampant. And I can tell you in India, it's so much so that public service announcements regularly go on in social media, as well as in any kind of, I mean, every media there is, on how to protect yourself from impersonation. How do you protect yourself from identity theft? And especially if you're starting off small, how do you protect yourself to make sure that and I think good alarm bells have been also sort of stated in the module. For example, high returns with no risk. That's an alarm bell. No paperwork, unknown people, not trusted people. Now, that's really the sort of overall manual, and there are some examples, but I would like to draw your attention to one of the examples that, and I'm saying from my own experience of explaining budgets. So one of the things that we work on is we try and explain financial sort of state budgets to civil society. And what we've realized is that a lot of civil society, especially people who are not used to looking at numbers, get very scared. It is very hard for them to understand how the numbers work. And so the table on, let's say page, I think this is page 37, that can be very intimidating, because I think the example is very useful in terms of, okay, if we are able to look at prices and local prices, and what is the difference between the local and what are the savings, that calculation will be really hard for people to follow, especially if you don't have, for example, understanding of abstract numbers in your head, or you don't have a knowledge of numerical. So numerical literacy is also sort of, because a lot of women who, at least in our context, have trouble with, they may have an abstract concept of a number in their heads, but they don't really necessarily identify with 1, 2, 3 in the written form. So how do we convey that might be a slight bit of a challenge. But the other thing that I thought was very useful, and I'm bringing my own context into this, is that this concept of saving very little for a really long period of time actually has been very useful in understanding SHG group savings. Because one of the key things that we learned when we were doing our own evaluation was that women were, for example, women would say, oh, I can't save because I don't have any money, my husband doesn't give me any money. And so what they would say is, so the next time you go to a festival, instead of buying 12 bangles, buy 6, right? Because that amount is usually given to them. Or take one fistful of rice from every time that you make anything and put it into another bin, because the next time that you have to buy that amount of rice, that's the amount you save. And so that concept in terms of not numbers, but in actual things, allowed them to understand that, oh, I just need to put away something for a rainy day, rather than, or that I can maybe do with a little today to reap something a year from now that will be much more substantial. And that future tense and that future goal is, how do you make that real in the present tense? I think that bit, maybe numerical, can be maybe harder to sort of explain, but I think that the foundation of a lot of these things can be then used contextually in the module.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Nivi. I think the last thing you said has resonated with me, that changing from what looks abstract in terms of numbers to maybe what can be practical in terms of what the women have. And this is something that can be then used contextually in any area, because like you've talked about rice, you've talked about buying fewer bangles with the amount of money that somebody has, and we can look at it. One of the things that perhaps we also need to really emphasize on in this module is the fact that they need to protect their savings, because fraud is everywhere. And think about perhaps some of the more contextual ways in which people are defrauded in your different countries. Perhaps maybe the last reflection in this unit, which I would like to mention, is we are asking the participants, are your passwords easy to remember? If they're linked to your name, your birthday, your phone number, consider changing them. And I don't think that's a question for just our participants. That's a question for us too.
Yes,
if right now
absolutely.
you can think about your passwords, when did you last change them? Are they linked to your name or to your birthday? This is data that is being mined from you every time you go online. Every time you want now, even just for any simple service or most sites online, they're going to ask you for your birthday. They're going to ask you for your location. These are things that then the fraudsters are mining in order to be able to get into your password. So when you enter your location, when you enter your birthday, somebody is checking if it's part of your password, and they're building up a profile around you. Okay, great. So that is just a side note. Let's go to unit number 4. Let's just, this is credit management. Salim, you have about 5 minutes to tell us what is the unit about and what are the objectives of that unit.
Salim, would you like me to share the
There was a slide? Okay.
Yes, there's a slide. Should I share it, or would you like to?
Hello.
Yes.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm presenting on behalf of WIAPO.
Okay. Would you like me to share the slide? Or do you want? Okay. Okay, you should be able to see my screen.
Okay. Yeah, first of all, I would like to introduce my fellow staff who attended the meeting.
Remember,
Including...
you only have 5 minutes, John. Eh?
Yes.
Okay.
our presentation was on credit management, and the first thing was what the unit is about. On this unit, it has only two. We have only two things that focuses on the understanding on how the borrowing and manage the credit responsibility in the business. And the second issue was explain how entrepreneurs use those loans and the credit to expand their businesses. In this unity, we have almost three objectives. The first thing was to distinguish between credit and debit. That is, our learners or our participants have to understand what is credit, and also to know what is the debit. Through this, they will be able to manage the credit, and they use it to expand their businesses, and they avoid the misuse of those credit, so that they can't fall into being a bad debitors. And the second objective was to explain the strategies of credit management, also to describe benefits that affect credit management to a business success. All these are being and objectives within this credit management. Or on the third issue was the main task that our learners have to learn within the unit of credit management. The first activity was to identify items that can be borrowed and potential repayment sources. The second activity was to discuss factors that a lender considers before providing business loan. That is, when asking some loans, there are some of collaterals that, or some of the assets that participants have to handle those to financial institutions, so that the financial institutions to give them those loans. Within this unity, there are some of the concepts that are basically that learners have to understand. The first concept was credit. The second concept was debt management. The third concept was source of credit, and the fourth concept was borrowing wisely. The last but not least was debit danger signals. Shortly, when we mentor or we facilitate these issues, we used it to allow them, or to make learners or participants to understand these terms, so that they will be able to understand. But the most interesting part of this, where we used it to put much emphasis on, are those on the sources of the credit. Since in our country we have the what we call it government 10%, so we use it to advocate the presence of 10% to our learners, so that they can access those 10%, since the 10% does not have a much interest, or does not have interest. Hence, once they receive that loan, they will be able to return the actual amount that has been given by the government. As last it was this year, among of our participants were able to receive the loan from the government, and they are using that loan to buy fabric materials and other materials which help them to grow and support. As Dr. Karen, during her visit, she were able to observe those participants from Kiberia. In our local context adaptation, we used it to I mean, those loans, or issues of credit management have been used, or we have been using or advocating those issues in our local context since they have been given in terms of our local currency, that is Tanzania shilling, and their loans are not required to be given in terms of other foreign currency. Foreign currency. So this is what our presentation is.
Karen, you're muted.
Sorry, sorry. So I was saying, thank you very much, John. And I think you have raised an important point about the emphasis being given on the kinds of loans that would be available, the kind of credit that would be available within your local setting, and talking about the 10% and emphasizing that over other kinds of borrowing. So partners in other countries may also know that there are certain types of loans, especially that are supported by government, that may be available to your small entrepreneurs. Emphasize on those over credit from bigger banks. And that would be one very good way to curate the material. Okay, let's go to the final one. Marina.
Hi, Jamie from Greening Water.
Yes, go ahead.
Marina has given me the task to present Unit 5. I'll just share my screen. You guys can. Sorry, 3 minutes. Okay.
It's fine, go ahead.
Okay, so can you see? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so we'll be covering how to write a business plan. Unit 5 covers mostly from Unit 1 to Unit 2, but it also covers 7 key areas. The main learning task would be using the 7 steps outlined in the units to write a business plan. Okay, so business background, production operation plan, marketing plan, financial plan, risk assessment, action plan, and executive summary. Some of these are very important key areas, especially when it comes to writing a business plan. Summarizing of key concepts, or like that last. Context. That might be needed to adopt your local context. One key area would be in the business plan, business background, employee qualifications. In our setting, a lot of business plans, they tend to neglect employee qualification, such as information backgrounds on their professions and areas like that. These are very important when you're running a business or you're trying to use your business plan to gain investments. Providing this key employment information is vital for interested parties or other individuals, or even when you're trying to sell your business idea to somebody else. Providing these areas of information is vital. Another thing too, when it comes to context, how to run a business while managing family expectations. In Papua New Guinea, running the business and having your family being part of it is a very huge challenge. You have to have this very strong mindset when providing a business, and also having to have your family members come and treat them as clients or treat them as employees. So this is one of the areas in when it comes to writing a business plan, I would say, especially in context, we face a lot of challenges. So having to manage your own business and also provide the same expectation that a family member would want to come. And for example, you run a tire service company, and a family member who runs a vehicle would want to come and get it for discount or get it for free. So that's something that a lot of Papua New Guineans in PNG face. So we have this thing called the one-talk system, meaning that family, if I'm your brother, you're supposed to give me discount. You're supposed to give me. So this is something that really need to make people understand that when they're running a business, they have to be really strict, or they have to really need to understand how they can deliver the message to family members and also themselves. At the end of the day, you're running a business, and it runs on people paying and costs and expenses and all this kind of things. Another thing in terms of context was the different methods of payment. I believe it was covered in Unit 4, but also I'd like to add on that as well, if I'm allowed to. In terms of payments, for example, if you loan some money, here in PNG, there are different ways of repaying that debt, not usually by currency, but in different payment methods. So example, if I gave money for school fees, or if I gave it for a person who went to the hospital, they will not always repay back in cash, but in different methods and different ways and means. So that's some of the context and issues that we also face here in PNG. Summary of key concepts, what the unit is about and its objectives. Basically, the purpose of the unit is to provide a clear outline of what is needed to start or run a business. The following are goal strategies, risk assessment, target audiences, financial overview, products and services, business information. These areas are very, very important, especially when you're starting off a business. You need to know who your target audiences are. You need to know, especially if you're trying to sell your module idea to an investor. If you're taking your business plan to a bank, they have to know the risks involved as well. So if you're getting a loan, they'll need to know if it has a high risk or a low risk, especially when it comes to the different markets, especially throughout the year. So yeah, having a business plan and meeting these target goals, I would say, is vital. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you for the presentation. You did not mention the learning exercises in that unit, so I'm just going to mention them. That there are two main learning exercises in that unit, because basically the unit has one objective, which is to write a business plan. And then there is activity 7, which is practice in the class, so that they make together the participants can work on an example that is given within the manual, and that then helps them so that when they're going away to do their own, then they already have something that they have practiced together in class. So the first is a practice exercise in class to make a business plan for what is called Muatsize Diamantes Salon, so hair salon. And then there is an assessment, which is creating their own business plan. And one of the important things about that business plan is that they're supposed to share it with the facilitator. So this is not, the business plan they develop should not be just a plan for the sake of it, but it should be, by the time now they're going all the way up to Unit 5, the participants have reached a place where they're starting to see that with the training I am getting in skills, I can actually start my own business, and to start thinking wide in terms of, if I write a business plan, how is it going to then help me to use the skills that I have been trained in order to begin my own business? So the second business plan that they are doing is something that they will be able to use, and you as a facilitator will be able to help them to see, does this look reasonable or does it not look reasonable? What are their expectations? So thank you so much for those 5 presentations. I know that I asked a lot of you, I mean a lot from you, to be able to go through a unit and tell us in summary in a very short while, what is the unit about? And that is also a way of giving an overview for the whole course. One of the things I would like to really emphasize is on the assignments, and to look at the assignments and know that there are a certain number of assignments. This whole, this course on financial literacy has got 7 major assignments, and they are written as activity 1, activity 2, all the way up to activity 7. But apart from those, there are also the assessments that are at the end of every unit. And those assessments, most of them are multiple choice, and most of them are just 3 questions. For example, Unit 1 has got 3 multiple choice questions. Unit 2 has no multiple choice questions. I believe, no, it has none. Then we go to Unit 3, which has got 3 multiple choice questions. Unit 3, if you noted, there's a bit of an error in terms of the editing. One of the multiple questions does not have a numbering. So that is an issue, but you can clearly see that there are 3 multiple choice questions. In Unit 4, again, we have only 3 multiple choice questions. Again, question 3 has an issue because it is not numbered. So please, as you facilitate this course, go as closely as possible to the manual that is presented. It is good to curate, and we have brought out very, very good examples of curating. But let us not curate just for curating's sake, or rather, let us not change the content just for the sake of changing the content. Because if we do that, then we are not able to do comparison across partners. So as far as possible, where we're talking about an example can perhaps, if it is written in rupees, for example, and you want to change it into PNG Kina, that is a good way to curate the course. If you have different ways of saving in your country, that is a good way to curate. But try as far as possible, let us try to stick to the content as it is, so that at the end of it, then also when we do the post-test, we're testing on the same kind of post-test that we did in the pre-test. If we move too far away from the content as is, then it becomes very difficult to do that. And we will find that at the end of it, even learners are not able to do the post-test. So thank you for your input. And perhaps we would think about, if we are going to change anything, if we are going to curate, what is it that we can curate, and what is it that we need to leave as is, so that we get the main message going. Before I move to the next, I would like to just give maybe a minute or two if there is any feedback that we would like to give on what we have gone through in terms of the different modules that we have discussed today. Any responses, any issues that perhaps you would like to look at? Okay, so in thinking about what we are doing, if we are talking about adapting and trying to ensure that our content can meet the needs of learners, one of the things that then we think about is what additional learning resources in terms of materials, activities, and information are needed for facilitating the unit. In other words, what do you need as a facilitator? And the idea of these manuals was to make them as resource light as possible, so that facilitators do not have a problem in getting the resources and the materials that they need. And so one of the things that is available from CALL, of course, is the PDF versions of the manual. You already have this. I have already shared the link to you from Oasis, and that is what you have prepared the material from. So it means that this is at the very basic form where you can print out the PDF manual, or you can use it, you can project the PDF manual on a screen. You don't even need to print it out. If you're able to project it for the participants, you're able to do that. The manual or the content is simple enough that you can have simple flip charts that can be used to teach most of the content. But then apart from that, we have developed PowerPoint presentations for each of the units. Let me click this and hope that it opens. If you look at what I have shared on my screen, let me bring this up. We have developed PowerPoint presentations for each of those units. This one is the financial literacy for entrepreneurs. So it means that as a facilitator, you can simply take our PowerPoint presentations and you're able to run through them without having to prepare your own. So this one is just for unit 1. It talks about what is income. It goes to gross income. It goes to net income. It is based off of the manual. And so if there is anything that you need to feel that you need to change, it can be changed in the PowerPoint presentation. When you download the PowerPoint presentation, it is completely customizable to your situation. And so it runs through the main concepts of Unit 1. And as I say, we have slides that will help you to facilitate this course in all of the units that we do. So you can see they're very simple. They follow the manual completely, and they help you to be able to teach with the PowerPoint presentation. Something else that we have also been able to do is to create short videos. This is a unit on, this is the video for Unit 1.
Meet Makaya, the vibrant young woman with an entrepreneurial spirit. She's not just a hairstylist, she also runs a small food business from her home and rents out a room to a tenant. She balances multiple income streams to make her dreams a reality. Today, we'll take a closer look at how managing income and expenses has shaped her success. Income is the money.
Okay, I won't play all of it because of time, but what I'm trying to explain is that there are different resources and learning modes that you would be able to use. The PowerPoint presentations are available to us. We are able to share them with you. The short videos, we are also able to share them with you. What we are waiting for is for CALL to be able to brand this so that they can then, no matter where they're used, it is easy to know that these are CALL products and they are put together and they're packaged. So we are working with our communications team to ensure that they are finalized before you're actually doing the financial literacy. Again, because most of us are doing it in Q3 and Q4. So these are additional materials and resources that could be useful to you. But I also want you to reflect, and not necessarily for now, but think about how you can use these materials and resources, how they can be useful in your context. And the short videos, for example, are going to have subtitles. And so that means that you're able to use that short video in a way that it is easy for your learners to follow along. And the good thing with video is that if it is going too fast, you can play it at a slower speed. And that means that it helps those who are perhaps not as well literate or who cannot read as fast to have that accessibility. It also helps us when we have learners with disabilities or participants with disabilities, that they are able to follow along because there is a picture, there is a PowerPoint presentation, there is a PDF where if this PDF is online, it can be enlarged so that they can read it more easily. If it is printed, it can be printed in bigger format. So we need to think about the adaptability that will be necessary before we go to our participants. And we also understand that participants have different literacy levels. Of course, not every participant is less literate. Not all participants are struggling, but we know that across the board, there will be these diversities of our participants, and we have to take it into consideration. So we will share these PowerPoint presentations and the short videos as soon as we have finished branding them. And they're going to be open access so that if there is something on the PowerPoint presentation that you need to change, you will be able to change it very, very easily. What are our expected results? And expected results, because at the end of the day, this is a course that is being offered so that there is something tangible or something that we can hold on to and say that we have been able to come out with an output and come out with an outcome. From your results-based management framework, you will notice that this output for financial literacy falls under the short-term outcome number 3. And so what are we trying to look at? This is one of the outputs is that this is a gender responsive course that has been developed and is offered by CALL, because this is a CALL created course. The second thing that we want to see is how many learners have actually been enrolled in this course. Now, the course is not CALL run unless you're using the PowerPoint presentations and the videos. And so we will be looking more at how many people have you been actually able to take part, or how many are taking part in your course. We also look at the content that is developed by CALL partners. If you change the learning materials that we have prepared, if you change them substantially in any way, we would ask that you share them back with us, because that is the whole point of open access materials. But if you change them substantially, please share them with us so that we can know that you have developed some course content. If you develop any new learning materials that from the same content, also please share them with us so that we can be able to count them towards the outputs. And then, as I've said, we also look at the learners that are enrolled. But more importantly, we want to see how many learners are completing the course. We want to know how many young women, how many persons with disabilities, how many men, if there are any in your programs, are going to be able to complete this program. Then we are also looking at eventually increasing equitable and inclusive access to quality learning opportunities. We say they're non-credit because we're not offering an institutional certificate for the course. Some of you may have certificates and that is okay, then we can count them as credit courses. But for CALL, credit courses are usually those that are offered by formal learning institutions such as TVET or universities. So at the end of the day, we want to try and see that our participants have been able to increase in their learning and in their ability to manage their futures. And finally, I just want to look shortly at our training timelines and our evaluation and feedback. Now, the training timeline, as I've mentioned a couple of times, is Q3, or for some people, Q4. If it is in Q4, try and do it as early as possible in Q4 so that you have enough time to be able to evaluate. We shall be sending you an evaluation matrix by January 30th. That is an evaluation of the course itself, of your experience, of letting us know how it was to run this course and what are some of the challenges that you actually encountered. What are some of the successes that you were able to encounter? How did you find the course in terms of the facilitation? And we would expect that feedback then would come by May 31st. The feedback on the evaluation matrix will mainly focus on the teams that have gone out and facilitated the courses, but we may also have some feedback that comes in from the learners, especially if we have given them a little bit of time, like 3 or 4 months, to be able to put into practice what they have learned. We would like to have some feedback from them, but we will send out this evaluation matrix to you. So with that, I just want to stop the share. Let me just stop the share and have this big. I'd just like to say that was a quick rundown through the course. Kindly, I would ask everyone to please go back into the manual, read through it, understand it as a whole, not just from the unit that you were able to look at, but what does it mean as a whole? What are we trying to achieve? What are the objectives of the course, not just of a single unit, in trying to ensure that people have financial literacy so they can improve their lives? And therefore, how is it then that we are going to ensure that at the end of the course, these outcomes have been achieved for them so they can go and put it into practice? So I'd like to maybe give this opportunity for anyone who has something to add or something to a comment or a question so that we can handle it before we close. This group scares me because sometimes they're so quiet.
No questions, Karen. I'm
Okay.
good. I think it'll be useful for the team to go through the module and, like you said, remodify it for our own, included it within our capacity building. So we'll be in touch with you regarding any modifications if and when that happens.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So as Nivea said, perhaps that time is needed. We have covered a lot, and maybe you had not gone through the whole training module. Please go through it. Also go through the facilitator's manual, because if you go with the facilitator's manual and the participant manual side by side, it makes a lot of things easy, because the facilitator's manual tells you how to present each and every unit and breaks it down to the point of view that even if you have never facilitated financial literacy before, you will not have any problem in terms of that facilitation. So kindly access the facilitator's manual on Oasis, just the same way that we have the participants manual on Oasis. The Swahili versions are also there, and you'll be able to see them. We cannot, of course, have the capacity to translate them into every language, but we will try, and we would like to see how can we change even the language in some of these some of the content to the everyday languages that are spoken in the countries of our different partners. But that is a long-term thing. For now, we have tried to make the manual as simple as possible, as basic as possible, where we're talking about businesses that our participants are likely to be involved in so that they can relate to the content. So let us look at it from the position that the material can be curated. The material cannot be curated in one document to suit every context, but it is as simple as can be made so that they can understand income, they can understand budgeting, they can understand how to save and grow their investments, and then also to write a business plan. And with that, I just want to say thank you so much for being with me. Thank you for staying on. Thank you, Baboshia, for being late. It is now 10 p.m. for us. So I want to thank Baboshia very much for going beyond the call of duty for all this time. And also for all of you for taking your time. This has been 1.5 hours of a webinar, and I want to thank you so much for being here, for participating. And I hope that as we continue to implement, if there is anything, kindly, please get in touch with us, and then we shall be able to talk you through some of the units in the manual. So have a lovely day, everyone. If it is your morning, if it is your afternoon, if it is your evening, I just want to wish you all the best in everything that you do. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Karen and Baboshia. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, Karen.
Bye-bye.
Bye.